Yeah, I've watched some videos on DVD, and recently it was the 7 Signs of Christ's Return, and that's exactly what they said in that DVD, is that Hitler will look like a shoeshine boy. I mean, they didn't use that word, but what he will do, he's a fierce countenance, and he cares for no one but himself and Satan's agenda. He doesn't care for his foot soldiers. He doesn't care for anything outside of his glory here on earth for his reign. And he will use anyone and anything to get to that point of power. I wanted to ask you about children. Their obsession with children, using children as sex slaves. Why do you think they go after children so much? In my opinion, it's because Christ loved children. And it's to go opposite. They hurt children. You know, they use them in these rituals. They use them as satanic sacrifices.
Right.
Why children?
Well, a number of reasons, again, that they've told, or there are even some of the old ritual books, book shadows that we've gotten and things, materials. They refer to the idea that the more innocent, the better, because it draws more demonic powers. If they can get some, children involved, if they can do either sacrifice, torture, hurt, harm, or sexual stuff, they obviously have someone that can't ultimately fight them back. They can prolong the abuse that really can bring a lot of damage. The more damage they can do, it's almost like that's their way of striking out against God. That's their way of since Satan couldn't go up and take the throne of God, this is one of the ways in which there's like a, see God, I'm getting you this way. It's that kind of thing, but it also involves, again, their nature. Their nature is self-pleasure, self-indulgence, and pleasure for them is to hear the torture, the cries, the pain. There's a glee in the demonic realm. They have not a shred of mercy, not a shred of remorse. So to hear humans cry and beg and see the pain, they gather in. Where there is fear, they talk about it as being the energy. The energies raised, fear, terror, perverted sexual energies. All those energies that are raised gives a bigger, broader door for demonic transference, and like a doorway for them to come through, and again, corrupting the child, turning the child, in their version to slamming and mocking God by what they do. And I tell you what, Jesus said, for any of those kind of people involved in this, it'd be better for a millstone to be tied around their neck, to be thrown in the deepest sea,
than to face him
in the judgment. Yep.
Right. Yeah, you know what?
They will face him.
And I'm glad about, because to harm an innocent child is, I just can't even, it's so heart-wrenching for me.
Well, and that's part of the motivation. Every time I dealt with victims, of satanic ritual abuse in their 30s and 40s and so forth, and I think about, how everything about their childhood, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 13, 14, 15, all of it's been stolen, altered, completely, totally altered. And I think in terms of other little kids out there laying on a table, or wherever they have them, or even how the military did these things. I think of, the good news is this, on the one side, that Jesus came as the deliverer, the one that can heal, the one that can heal broken hearts, the one that can save, and all we need to do is get to the victims and help them and bring the mercies of Jesus to them. On the other hand, there's a scripture, and here's again, for military men or whatever, some of these people think because they live in the darkness, they think nothing will happen to them. But the scripture says in Hebrews 4, it says that nothing is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of Him, to whom we must give account. And this is what needs to be preached strongly. There's not a thing they could have ever done that God did not see. And the great white throne judgment, which the demons, by the way, we've done a lot of exorcisms, a lot of deliverances where demons have literally come up and spoke through these individuals and Satanists and others, screaming. Of course, they hate Jesus, they hate Christians, they hate the Jews, but they also know that there's an ultimate judgment coming, and they're somehow trying to outrun it.
You can't outrun it.
They can't. No.
You cannot outrun
even in the scriptures. Yeah, even in the scriptures, there was a time when a demonized individual fell down before Jesus, and the demons cried out, hey, it's, basically, it's not time yet. It's not time for the judgment yet. They know that it's set. The great white throne judgment is the end, the final annihilation, separation. Everything demonic, everything evil, everything will never touch redeemed humanity again.
Well, it's a definite, what we refer to in gang stalking or organized stalking is spiritual warfare. It's a definite spiritual warfare that's occurring, and I think it's going to perpetuate as time goes on. I mean, it's going faster and faster and faster. We're facing global disasters such as Myanmar cyclone, Hurricane Katrina, the global food crisis, falling economy, failed housing industry, and these are all part of it as well, right? This is where he's going to come in and say, hey, I can solve the world's problems.
Exactly. It's the frog in the kettle approach first. I had mentioned earlier about the first proliferation of occultic literature was in pre-Nazi Germany that really helped fuel the demonized ideology that became the politics. Well, that led to what? Destruction in the millions and the attempt of, think in terms of the Jews, the piling up of the bodies at Auschwitz and Dachau and so forth. They literally took human bodies. They were stacked, 10, 20 high, being shoveled into the ovens. So the demonic ideology that became literally political ideology, it was enforced by a demonized, Himmler-oriented, occult-oriented military. That deception led to incredible destruction. Now here's happening again. The second greatest proliferation of occultic literature occurred in the 60s in the United States. The frog in the kettle approach is coming to the end, where there's just, all that literature was literally unleashed. We have 60-some million New Agers, which all New Age teaching ultimately is Luciferian Agenda, the evolution of human consciousness and a transformation that will never occur, but people are believing and yielding to that. We have probably over 100,000 covens in the United States. Father Shefton wrote a book on that back in the 90s. So you already have the underbelly here. You already have the societies, secret societies, covens. You have the frog in the kettle approach, but we're coming to that. It's a critical mass, and you're right. And it seems as though the more manifested demonic presence in the air, let alone in people, will also bring about earth changes and affect. I believe that we're seeing that clash in a spiritual sense. It will, and I think it's biblically true too. It will cause crazy, hurricanes and all of the rest, earthquakes, and all these kind of damaging things that will be occurring. But then there's going to be, it's not enough. That's not going to be enough. They can't do it in a slow inch-by-inch process. They've been working on it, but they've got to come to the critical mass. People can feel it in the air, Gina. I think everybody can realize people feel the ominous sense of impending doom. And they're correct in that feeling. It's in the air. And when they break out, it will be a bloody mess. It will be a shock and awe in a demonic sense. And biblically, as God has said, because man has opened the door to this, the Antichrist will arise, and the deception that comes with it will bring about the greatest destruction of humanity in global history. So much so that Jesus said, if he did not return visibly, there would be no flesh left. That's where demonic deception, and that's what the foot soldiers need to know. The deception that they're in and a part of will only lead to their not only their physical destruction, but their eternal destruction. And the only way out is right now, to turn to the living Christ.
Yeah, that's the only way. But a lot of them are not going to do it. They're going to continue on. They think that there is gold at the end of the rainbow here for them. Every night, there is definitely a hierarchy to this satanic agenda. There are people at the top who are driving Porsches and they've got great lives, and then there are people on the bottom. And I know about this because I've dealt with these people one-on-one at my assault, and I deal with them at night with the voices, and there's one that I have by the name of Julie, and she is very angry.